All right, everybody, we're going to jump right into a very, very important video. I know it's been a minute since I've done a live video, and I wasn't going to go live this late, but this is a very important study that's been released about the 5G technology, wireless technology. And if you're watching this on the YouTube playback, make sure that you subscribe to the Facebook channel. Where you can see the different articles that's being posted, because throughout the weekend I've been posting articles on radiation, killing the bees, different documentaries, different studies, and basically websites about microwave radiation used in wars and different things like that. So it's a very, very, very big issue. And ironically, this weekend I had planned and told myself I'm going to cut off my internet at 5 because I've been studying and posting stuff on radiation throughout the weekend. I said, okay, I'm trying to get this out. Gonna have to do it. But I came across this article and I had to break my rule on the first day. And the link is in the description, and it's basically saying that the industry, the oil industry lied to us, and the sugar and tobacco industry lied to us since the 80s. But this article particularly is about the wireless technology, and it's basically saying that they're suppressing purposefully and intentionally any studies that show how the radiation affects and change our DNA. And so if you're using, because right now I'm using an Apple and my mouse is wireless, my keyboard is wireless, and the Apple, is wireless. So I'm making a concerted effort to stop this, but it's making it even worse. We have to get this information out, but this article is so mind-blowing because it plays out in a lot of different sector markets. As far as in the tobacco industry, the article says that they put nicotine in the tobacco. And by the time people found out smoking was bad, the people were already addicted to the nicotine. They talk about the oil industries and how basically they knew about global warming in the 80s, but ExxonMobil, they knew about burning oil and burning gas. They knew that it would rise the temperatures within a certain amount of years, but they suppressed this information. And they came out with the same thing about sugar, how fat is really not bad for you. Sugar is. And the people in the food industry, they paid off the scientists to basically put out information that fat is bad and it's really not sugar, when everybody is, doing these keto diets and these low carb diets, and they're losing weight. And there's a lot of information out now that it's indeed the sugar that's killing you. It's the sugar addiction. The sugar basically is a drug. So back to this internet thing. The article is very long, but it specifically has different studies in it. And it's saying that on one hand, you have the studies that were independently done, and then you have the studies that are funded by the people in the industry. So if everyone on this site, if we all do our own independent study versus someone that is paid by AT&T or someone that is paid by Microsoft, if they do their own study. And at first it came out, the study was basically, what effect does Wi-Fi radiation have on our biological structure, our DNA? Does it change our DNA? How does it affect our DNA? And the article is basically saying that the person that's in charge of the SEC, who regulates the internet usage and the radio waves and different things like that, it's the federal, it's not local or anything. They put the study out like it doesn't really affect it. They kind of combined the studies and said, well, Wi-Fi radiation does not have an effect on people's DNA. But the person who did one of the studies, he separated it and he said, well, 76% of the people who did their own independent study found out it did change their DNA. And only 26% of the people who are funded by these technology companies, they found out that it did. So 76% of the people who did it independently versus 26% of the people who did it that were funded by these companies that have their own vested interests. And I did the video on the blue blocker glasses that I'm trying to get here. And, you know, you get these glasses. I should be wearing them now, really, but you get these glasses and they help the body produce melatonin in the pineal gland, because right now, me using this blue light in the dark time, it's messing up the circadian rhythm of the body. So you should, and like I said, invest in a $10 pair of these glasses. It will help your body produce the melatonin. This technology, it's really mind-blowing how normal it is, because they've been suppressing, this article says they've been suppressing this information since the 80s. They said when the first cell phone came out, only 6 out of 100 people had a cell phone in like the late 80s when it was becoming popular. And there were studies back then that people who only use it on this side started getting tumors on this side of their face. People use it on this side, only would get tumors on that side of their face. So these studies have been out for going on 30 plus years. So the article is basically saying they're running an experiment on us. We're just guinea pigs. We're just a dollar sign. This whole Wi-Fi, internet, everything is an experiment on you, on us. Because they're not going to say that it's bad, but they're trying to suppress the information. So they're trying to suppress the bad effects so they can keep the conversation going, essentially is what the article is saying. So it's crazy that, and everything is Bluetooth. Everything is Bluetooth. Someone I know just got a Bluetooth toothbrush. You got these Bluetooth speakers. In a minute, our cars are already Bluetooth, but we've been following the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the future of technology. I've been speaking about that for a few months now, and the cars are going to be self-driven as far as taxis and, Ubers has the self-driven cars and different things like that. So it's almost too late as far as the momentum is too much. People are, the internet, people are using money for the internet. You have the cryptocurrency getting big. Things are just, it's too late, man. And they're saying the World Health Organization, they said that Wi-Fi radiation is a carcinogen. And if you've been following the environmental videos I'm doing on environmental racism, diesel fuel exhaust is a carcinogen. And the biggest issue in London 2 years ago when they had their mayor race was diesel fuel exhaust. And they thought diesel fuel was good for the environment. So their regular car vehicles have diesel fuel. Come to find out a couple years later, it's harmful for their environment. So now if you want to buy a diesel fuel car in London, you have to pay extra taxes. They're trying to ban the diesel fuel taxis in India. So it's like we're constantly being put in the middle of these experiments and we keep falling for it. And it's like, it's an experiment because they don't really have enough information. They have the information, but they're not giving it to the public on a widespread level. And right now, they know too many people have cell phones. I did a video on the cell phone and internet addiction and how that is a real issue, and how internet usage is basically, when you're addicted to technology, it's the same. They did a study. It's the same brain chemistry as heroin. That's why it's called electronic heroin. So this is not like, oh, a conspiracy theory, or like there's hundreds and hundreds of research in this, peer-reviewed studies, and it's like they're not giving us our consent. When you do what, like when I went to university, and if you want to participate in a study, they have to tell you, like, you have to sign off and give a consent. So, but if the cell phone causes radiation, they have to at least, there's gonna, mark my words, there's gonna be a surgeon, not a surgeon general, maybe kind of warning, but they will have to start putting some kind of warnings on these cell phones. And I encourage you to, like, if you have a cell phone, like, put like duct tape on the back and just write, like, use at your own risk or something. Like, you're gonna have to get creative. That's what I'm gonna start doing, to remind yourself, like, you're gonna have to get disciplined and get focused and say, like, okay, I'll use the internet for a certain amount of time. I'll use the Wi-Fi a certain amount of time. Then I have to cut off my router, stop the radiation, maybe invest in a good, radiation sensor thing that can pick up the waves and let you know how dangerous it is in your house. But this is crazy. Like, this Wi-Fi radiation has been shown to damage the blood-brain barrier. It's known to interfere with DNA replication. This is not going to be a big story. It's going to, and this is the problem. Like, yes, the internet is good. News sites like this, like mine, like, we try and put this information out. But if a black person gets shot or something crazy happens, like, this is going to be forgotten about tomorrow or next week. So that's why if you're watching this, like, share this video, share the article in the link. I posted the article already, but this is like, it's really mind-blowing. And we understand white supremacy. We're not surprised, like, at the levels and the depths that they go through. But time and time again, we see, like, we're basically guinea pigs. And it's like, when you talk about this stuff, people start to look at you crazy. Like, if you were to go out in the streets and talk to people about this, they will look at you crazy while they're on their cell phone and listening to their cell phone. And this has been going on for at least 30 years. I'm only 32 years old. So, I mean, and like I said, it's too late. And they say that earlier their child, if you have children and they start to use these cell phones, it's more damaging for them because their brains are not developed yet. They're still growing. And, so this is not the last. I'll be talking about electromagnetic fields. I posted the article on how they waived like a landline, like a regular home phone, like around some beehives. And it's saying how the bees' wings pick up the electric magnetic stuff from the phone. And it's not even a cell phone. This is like a home phone where you charge your home phone. It wasn't even plugged in. So just imagine if it's plugged in, or if your Wi-Fi, you had your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth on your phone. Like, if it's messing up nature, then it's probably not good. Like, that should be the first sign. If it's messing up nature, it's probably not good. And the earth has its own magnetic pulse. That's already, they talk about that in the video. Like, it's already has its own pulse. So when we begin to interfere with that, and it's like, I don't know, think about the people and like, there's already a generation that's been born into this internet stuff. So this like I said, having discipline, having the discipline to, be efficient and get things done as quick as possible and then be done with the internet. Or if you can, just don't use it at all. But I hate that I have to get on. I hate that I have to use the internet after reading. After reading and studying this stuff, because it's like you're making a sacrifice just to give people this information on a daily basis. Like you have to really, but of course I'm in the future, I will try and leave tips, and I'm going to do a whole video on basically what can we do to prevent these issues, because a lot of the studies that contradict or counteract this is basically saying that you can't get cancer from it, and you'll get, it's like all the it's not enough radiation. That's basically what all the studies that say it's not harmful, they're saying it's not enough radiation. But if the World Health Organization is saying it's a carcinogen, that, and you see this, I did the video on how the EPA safe levels, or how there's no real safe level. So it's imperative, and this is why news is so important, especially independent news, because it's imperative to think when something is released in a situation and they say, well, this is safe and it's okay at this level, long as it's lower at this level, and you think, and you put that trust, you put that faith and that energy into trusting these entities, and it doesn't turn out to be safe at all, who do you blame? So, they don't want it. They're trying to suppress the information. And like I said in the beginning of the video, they said the same thing about tobacco. Tobacco was promoted as cool. There wasn't no Surgeon General warnings on tobacco, on cigarettes when it first, started promoting them. They were cowboys. The men got all the women from smoking them, different things like that. It took years for smoking, for that Surgeon General stuff to be on there, and for people to find out how bad it was, because they like to say, well, anything could give you cancer. Maybe it's the food you eat. Maybe it's your environment. How do you know smoking? So they kept suppressing it. And then with the ExxonMobil, they're saying that they shouldn't have been burning gas. They shouldn't have been burning oil. It'll make the temperature go up 3 degrees by 2100. And 3 degrees, I'm not a scientist like that, but I know 3 degrees, if the temperature increases that much, it's going to be a lot of trouble. And it's already increasing. So, and then the thing with the sugar and the fat. Well, fat is bad. Fat is bad. Fat will make you fat. It rolls off the tongue easy. It's easy to remember. It almost sounds logical. Well, if I want to lose fat, maybe I should eat fat. Yes, eat all the sugar you want. Eat all of these carbs. Eat all of these donuts. Because the carbs, they have a longer shelf life. When you can make pasta, you can have donuts, you can have, all of the carbs. So if it has longer shelf life, that means more money for the food industries. And fat, generally, it either has to come from an animal or like a natural food source. And that's going to expire. So that took at least 10, 15 years. I think that article just came out like 2011 or something. And all of these fad diets came out about fat and, low fat diets, all of these fads. Now you have the cell phones. They've been talking about this since the 80s for 30 years. And now 30 years later, they're just admitting, and this isn't even going to get, check and see if this is on your timeline. This is probably not even on your timeline. As far as, not from me, but I'm saying from someplace else. Or if you watch, wherever other place you get your news from, see if they talk about it. See if it's on your timeline. See if your friends talk about it. See if your friends know about it. Because this is, Is it worth getting cancer just to use the internet? I mean, I don't, you know, it's crazy. So I've taken up enough time. Hope you enjoy the content. Please share this video, spread the word. They are killing us softly with technology. And, they're suppressing the information. They don't want the information to get out. And we're basically human guinea pigs. We're basically guinea pigs in a big box running around, going to work every day, whatever you do every day. So, and, they don't have your consent. They don't have your consent to do this stuff if they can't prove without a shadow of a doubt that it's safe. And if they don't want to admit that it's safe, then that should tell you right there, because you can say, well, I'm not lying, but I am withholding information, which is basically the same thing. If you're withholding information, you're basically lying to the people because you have knowledge of this, but you choose not to put it out. So essentially they're lying, and withholding that information, it shows you their true agenda. It shows you, cancer, genetic damage. This stuff is crazy. So let me know what you think, or will you keep using your cell phone? It's a long article if you want to read it, but again, you are being experimented on. This is your life. If you use your phone a lot, if you're on the internet a lot, you should stop what you're doing and read this article and really concentrate and look at what's in this article. 236 scientists worldwide who have published more than 2,000 peer-reviewed studies represent a significant portion of the credentialed scientists in radiation research field. They're talking about 5G, the 5G that's supposed to be coming, the 5G technology. And this stuff, what if these mass shootings, what if it's related to technology? What if it's related to internet usage? Who knows? Like, think of all the stories and different things we didn't find out till later, years later after it happened, and we look back like, wow, this whole time we didn't even realize this, or we didn't even recognize that. And I think that's what the internet is going to do, because our country, and it kind of works to our detriment, where, older countries, they might be more orthodox. Like if you look at a Muslim country, Americans typically might look at them, or, well, that's older, that's so orthodox and traditional. And we're so focused on being progressive and so open and liberated and all of these stuff. Like, it's fine to be free, but it's like all of that is in the same pot. It's like a different recipe of essentially what's a disaster as far as our ideology and how we perceive the future. You know what I mean? Like, if we pride ourselves on being progressive, we as a country, we pride ourselves on forward thinking, we pride ourselves on inventions, and just everything has to be new. At what point are we going to have to actually sit back and reflect and sit back and think about what we're actually doing? And is this really okay? Like, is this really, like, of course we have world hunger, and we're talking about one-way trips to Mars, and we're flying all this stuff in space. Like, it's really ridiculous. When you think about it, like, it doesn't benefit anybody. And, like I said, when they had the World Government Summit or whatever, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, all the big technology people were there, and even Elon Musk was there last year, and they're saying that, you have to collaborate with technology or it's gonna take over. So it's like, if technology takes over, which it has, but as far as like Wi-Fi radiation and internet usage, if that takes over, who's not going to be affected by that? How is that like? And the thing is, people are going to want to ask for it. People are going to want to ask for, or I want to have online, or Wi-Fi cities and different things like that. I thought that was a good thing a few months ago. You know what I mean? Why shouldn't, if you want to apply for a job online and you can't make it all the way out there, or you don't have the gas money, or, whatever your situation may be, if the internet can help you like that, that's great. But if it's going to give you radiation, may give you cancer after a long usage, it's not worth it. So I've been rambling 25 minutes. Again, let me know what you think in the comments, and that's all I got for you today. Tomorrow, I may go live. I'm going to do a couple videos tomorrow, one on the EPA and gentrification and mental health. There's a study saying that when you're displaced, and it's basically common sense, but it's good to see a study on it, because some people like numbers. We have common sense. We understand that when you're displaced, when you've been oppressed and objected to white supremacy, it's going to have an effect on your mental health. And they're saying that people who are displaced from their neighborhoods, after they leave, if they don't go into a gentrified neighborhood, they have more emergency visits to the hospital. So stay tuned for that video tomorrow. All right.